Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, computer science class. We are looking at a course unit called report writing. And as you may be aware, the topic is fieldwork reports. The last lecture we had defined fieldwork as work done in the field to gain practical experience and knowledge through first-hand observation. Fieldwork involves the gathering of anthropological or sociological data through the interviewing and observation of subjects in the field. It involves observation, sampling, interviewing respondents in the field, getting involved in focus group discussions, recording all data acquired in the field, analyzing and interpreting the data and the knowledge acquired in the field. Let's look at steps in doing fieldwork. Number one, we must identify a field of study, a subject of study, an area of study. Are we going to study about computer networking? Are we going to study about the role of IT in developing business? All that is an area we can identify, or a field or a subject we can study in the field. Two, we have to brainstorm and get a topic. So you must get your topic before you actually go to the field. After the two above, then we have to develop the following. One, an introduction and background. You are to briefly say what the report is all about and explain the origin of the situation or problem to be studied and report about. This will help you to understand the specific problems addressed by the field study. It shows how they lead to the problem that is going to be isolated and treated by the study. Secondly, you are to develop the statement of the problem. The above background helps the study to isolate the problem that the fieldwork study finds to be particularly crucial and needs to be explained. This will ask questions as how things are and how they should be, or simply, the situation is this or that, and yet it ought to be like this. From that, you can be able to continue with your research or study in the field. Three, you must explain the scope of the study. The scope of the study refers to the boundaries or limits within which the study is to be kept. It is divided into three categories. One is the geographical scope. And the geographical scope talks about the location of the study. Is it in your village, your location, county, country? It must be defined. The context or subject of study is number two. Are we going to study about cybersecurity? Are we studying about lack of knowledge of IT? That will be your context. Lastly, or number three, is time scope, the duration of our study, and also the span of time we are going to look at. And number four, you must explain the significance of your study. Sometimes it could be called the rationale, which is normally the importance of your field study. You should show why and how the report is necessary or of value, more so having great effect or influence to the community, the government, your university library, organization you work, and future studies to be made basing on the study you are completing in the field today. So next, you must list at least 4 and at most 5 objectives of the study. And this is the principle we follow at this university. Some places they could have 3, some places they could have go up to 5 or 7 objectives, but here we shall have a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 5 objectives. The objectives ought to be based on real facts and not influenced by personal beliefs or feelings. You don't use your assumptions here. You must actually base it on facts. So below is how you ought to start to list an objective. You can say to study the problems associated with IT, to find out how IT is developed in this town, to identify challenges facing IT professionals, to assess the government involvement in training, to examine, and so on and so forth. As you start writing your report, it is very important for you to keep in mind that at the end you develop an executive summary. And in the executive summary, we shall have the following involved. First, you must understand an executive summary is a brief of a report of a particular subject and is often used to help the reader quickly ascertain the paper's purpose, your study's purpose, and looks at the following. In it, you ought to highlight the problem, the scope, significance, objectives, study methods or methodology of your study, your design of study. You must show the findings briefly. Last but very important, you must conclude and give recommendations. Okay. Now, before you can look at the structure of reports. Here we have divided them into 3 parts. Preliminary parts, the main parts, and supplementary part. The preliminary parts are listed from 1 up to 10, as you can see. Cover page must be clearly prepared in a color that is actually attractive. No need to number it. Then after it, when you open the cover, you see a title page, which is also not numbered. The title will be put on this page. The name of the author, that is you, the person writing the report. The name of your organization, date of submission, all of them will be on the title page. The next will be numbered in Roman numbers. It's a declaration in corporate. This is when you actually take an oath, or you declare that this piece of work is your original work. It has never been published anywhere else. It belongs to you. And by doing so, you are liable to the courts of law in case you do plagiarism, that is stealing somebody's information and posing it as your own. Your report must have an approval from your supervisor. For the case of our university, perhaps your lecturer who is talking to you now is the one who will approve your report, confirming that it was done under my supervision or any other lecturer's supervision. We can also have dedication, which is optional. Dedication is actually a gift to whoever, could be a person you love. You may dedicate this report to your family, to your loved daughter, son, to your wife, your husband. It's optional. Acknowledgement is appreciating everybody who gave you insight into completing this report. Information, all respondents may be highlighted in the acknowledgement. If you are religious, you can start by thanking the Creator, your family, your university, your lecturers, your classmates, your workmates, respondents who gave you data. All these people must be acknowledged. It's courtesy. You must also have a table of contents. This is a list of items in your report. You put the item and the page where it can be found. Acronyms could be sometimes abbreviations, like EU may stand for European Union. It can also be Elo University. Okay. GDP, gross domestic product. Any unclear word used or phrase must be explained. You can also have some pictures or illustrations, maps. If they will be very useful for your report, you can include them. So the main text is what we have been dwelling on in the previous chapters. It starts with an introduction, which is a brief of what is going to be covered in your report. The body gives the details, a discussion, description, and has several headings depending on the findings, depending on your objectives. Lastly, in the report, we must give a conclusion and also recommendations. You unbiasedly end the report. And as you end the report, you must have cited some recommendations. You list them. After sealing the report in this style, we normally have supplementary parts, appendixes, attachments, reference, where we got the information, the books, and whoever gave us that information. Bibliography is also put here. Glossary, some words are listed here and explained briefly. Index, easy access to the report is put here. Now, having that in mind, I suppose all computer science class, you can choose from the topics below or any of your choice, but in line with your course of study. And there you are. You go to the field and collect data. That's the end of our lecture. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum. If you have any question, you are welcome. Or you can actually access this information from my YouTube accounts.